Lu Jinian lifted his lips lightly, but he didn't speak. The entire room was so quiet that even the sparks of light from the candles could be heard. After a long while, Lu Jinian finally spoke, but instead of replying to her, he called her lightly, "Qiao Qiao." Qiao Anhao raised her head in confusion, looking up at him. "Huh?" Lu Jinian stared at her, his eyes a mixture of emotions. He wanted to tell her that she was the girl that he loved, but he was afraid that if it went wrong, they couldn't even be friends. When someone has totally lost something, he never wants to return back to that stage. The 5 years without her was the worst time of his life, and he never wanted to relive that again. His heart was in a mess. After a long while, he finally cleared his throat. "You are a girl worthy of love." This was the first time that Lu Jinian had praised her. Qiao Anhao took a deep breath of his familiar scent, another sudden impulse forming in her mind. She really wanted to ask if she was really worthy of love. If she was worthy, then what about him? Why didn't he love her? The more she thought, the more she wanted to ask him. She was really going to call for him, but as she looked at him, he was staring back at her with a deep gaze, as though waiting for her to speak. In that instance, she lost all her courage. This was the best time of their relationship, and she didn't want to do anything to jeopardize this moment. After all, even if she was a girl worthy of love, that didn't mean that he would love her. She swallowed the words back in, finally saying in a faint voice, "Good night." After a long while, he replied in an equally faint voice, "Good night." This was the end of their conversation. They closed their eyes, pretending to be asleep, but deep inside their hearts, they were both thinking of their deepest secret. He loved her. She loved him. Qiao Anhao had no idea how she fell asleep that night, but when she woke up, it was already 11 a.m. in the afternoon, and Lu Jinian was no longer beside her. The candles on the floor had already been extinguished, leaving an empty glass containers behind. The balloons on the wall were the same as the previous night, reminding her that it was not a dream. She looked at her phone and saw many blessings from her family and friends. As she brushed her teeth, she started to reply to them one by one. By lunchtime, Jia Mong had arrived to fetch her to the filming set. Qiao Anhao began packing her things, but before she left, she suddenly remembered that Lu Jinian had prepared a cake for her. She told Madame Chen to pack it for her, and she brought it along to the filming set. That afternoon, Lu Jinian didn't have any scenes, so he didn't turn up. But in the few minutes they were apart, she realized that she really missed him. After she was done with her scenes, she headed back to the hotel. Upon reaching it, she saw Lu Jinian's car in the car park. Knowing that he was nearby, she suddenly remembered the cake he had prepared for her, which she could use as an excuse to meet him. After returning to her room, she cut the cake and placed a large slice onto a plate. Just when she was about to leave the room, her phone suddenly rang.